the Bible's most hated name doesn't belong to a monster, but to a man who was trying to make things happen faster? What if betrayal wasn't driven by greed, but by disappointment, pressure, and a collapsing dream? History flattened him into a symbol. One word replaced his name: traitor. But stories become dangerous when they're simplified, because once you stop asking why, you stop seeing the human being underneath. This story isn't about a devil in human skin. It's about someone who followed closely, waited patiently, and still ended up on the wrong side of history. Something went wrong, and it didn't happen all at once. He wasn't an outsider. That's the first detail most people miss. He was inside the circle, not watching from the shadows, not lurking at the edge. He walked the same dusty roads, ate the same meals, heard the same promises, felt the same electricity in the air when crowds gathered and expectations swelled. He believed, at least he started that way. When Jesus spoke about a kingdom, people filled in the blanks themselves. Power, change, a reckoning, a turning point where the weak would finally stop being crushed under Rome's heel. And this man, Judas, wanted that future as badly as anyone else. But belief is fragile when it's tied to expectations. Every day that passed without rebellion, every parable instead of a plan, every refusal to seize power when the moment felt right, something began to crack. Imagine walking beside someone you're convinced will change everything, only to watch them keep choosing restraint when force would work faster. Watching opportunity after opportunity slip by. The crowds wanted more. The leaders grew nervous. The pressure thickened. And Judas stood in the middle of it all. He wasn't blind. He could feel the tension building. He could sense that things were coming to a head, whether anyone was ready or not. That's when the whispers started. Quiet conversations, closed doors, questions that sounded reasonable at first. How far would this go? Was Jesus actually willing to act? Or was this movement going to die slowly, suffocated by hesitation? Judas didn't wake up one morning and decide to become a villain. He drifted there, slowly, silently, convincing himself he was being practical. The money is always emphasized in retellings. 30 pieces, a neat number, easy to remember, easier to judge. But money doesn't explain the timing. If greed were the motive, there were better moments, safer moments, smarter ways. This wasn't opportunistic betrayal. It was desperate intervention, a shove, not a theft. A belief, dangerous and flawed, that forcing the situation would finally reveal who Jesus really was. Maybe Judas thought pressure would trigger power. Maybe he thought arrest would provoke resistance. Maybe he believed this was the only way to stop everything from quietly collapsing, because disappointment doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like urgency, and urgency makes people reckless. The night it happened wasn't dramatic at first. No thunder, no speeches, just footsteps in the dark and a greeting that felt ordinary on the surface, but burned underneath. A kiss, intimacy weaponized. Not because Judas didn't care, but because caring had twisted into something unrecognizable. And then everything spiraled. Jesus didn't resist, didn't fight, didn't call for help. The moment Judas was counting on never came. Reality hit all at once. This wasn't a strategy. This wasn't acceleration. This was final. You can almost feel the shift. The second where confidence collapses into horror, where the story you told yourself stops making sense. Because it's one thing to push events forward, it's another thing to realize you've ended them. Suddenly, Judas isn't holding control. He's holding guilt. The leaders he worked with move on without hesitation. The machine keeps turning. The consequences are no longer theoretical, and for the first time, Judas sees himself clearly, not as a catalyst, not as a realist, not as the one who did what had to be done, just a man who made a choice he can't reverse. That's the part tradition rushes past. The regret, the return. He doesn't disappear with the money. He doesn't celebrate. He tries to undo it. He brings the coins back, throws them away like they're contaminated, like they're screaming at him, "I was wrong." But remorse doesn't rewind time, and when there's nowhere left to place the weight of what you've done, it turns inward. Judas doesn't die defiant. He dies crushed, not by hatred, by the realization that his certainty destroyed the very thing he believed in. History labels him cleanly because it's easier that way. Villain, traitor, end of story. But the Bible leaves the edges rough on purpose, because Judas isn't frightening because he was evil. He's frightening because he was human, close enough to the truth to touch it, confident enough to interfere with it, and broken enough to realize, too late, that being near something sacred doesn't mean you understand it. Some of the worst mistakes aren't made by people who don't care. They're made by people who care too much about outcomes, timelines, control. Judas didn't lose his way by rejecting belief. He lost it by trying to manage it. If you want biblical stories told like this, subscribe. This isn't about sermons or slogans. It's about uncovering the stories we thought we knew and realizing they were always deeper than we were told.